On the next Too Blessed to Be Stressed television show.
Sexual addiction.
Wow, that's really people having sex.
Basically, it just ruled my whole life, you know. All I could do was, whatever you had to do, you had to get to the store to buy more. Or
You are, in fact, cheating on your relationship, cheating on your marriage, on that covenant marriage that you promised to be true only to her.
Welcome to this week's television show. We have been dealing with addiction this month. This week we're going to be dealing with the addiction of sexual addiction. The most popular of addictions and the fastest growing is this thing called pornography. We have two men who are going to share their struggle with this thing called sexual addictions this week. The internet is profoundly transforming our culture in our world in ways similar to what the phone did 100 years ago. In addition to its function as a source of information, one of the ways that it's revolutionizing in the negative is through sex and sexual contents, such as cyber sex, which is any form of sexual expressions. It is a major industry in our society today. Over 60% of everyone who visits the internet is involved directly in sexual purpose.
hours and hours, and you're up till, you got to be at work at 6 a.m. and I'm on the computer till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing I got to sleep. But I gotta just get a little bit more in. I'm afraid I'm gonna miss something if I don't, click one more site or,
If I'm on the computer, I'm on there for a purpose. I just don't sit at a computer. Because if I do, I'm gonna start, if I tarry too long, I'll be there and I'll be looking at stuff I shouldn't be. And Lord, those sites, they're so easy.
Have you ever wondered how people are drawn into this thing called sexual addiction and pornography? Some are drawn out of their own curiosity, while others are invited by peers.
7th grade, I think. 6th or 7th grade. I think I was at home by myself, and my dad had left the tape out, and one of those unmarked ones, and put it in, and there it was, At first you kind of shocked, like you get nervous and your hands are sweating and like, oh God, I shouldn't be doing this, but for some reason you do it anyway. And you got to watch it again and then again, and you keep digging and finding those tapes. But
My first real exposure into real porn and actually having it in my hands, I was in early middle school, and a friend of mine had some Hustler magazines, and I think they might have actually been his dad's, sneaking them out, but he had them and shared them. Oh yeah, those girls, they're hot. Ooh, look what they're doing.
I finished basic training and I was stationed out in Montana. I was by myself, lived out there by myself, and I had met my wife, and that was when I guess I had the freedom to find the porn stores, and somebody I was with had told me about the porn stores. And being by myself, I went by myself, and I found this store, and it just thousands of porn, and I think that was my first experience of actually buying and discovering it and taking it home. And
I was with my girlfriend, and we were in a video store just to pick up a film to watch, a movie to watch, and I thought she was jokingly suggested going, let's look in the back room and see what they got. I was like, sure, why not? And then she started walking that way. And then we were in there, and oh my gosh, it's just all there. And it's wow, that's really people having sex. We rented a couple little tapes when we watched, and it got us all hot and bothered, and we were doing our thing. I don't think we ever finished watching those first videos.
However, people are hooked by this thing called pornography, this sexual addiction. It doesn't matter how they got there, but they are willing to go to any lengths to make sure that this sexual appetite is fed. And they'll go to any extent to make sure that it's hidden and the secrecy is kept.
But at one time, it's basically, it just ruled my whole life, you know. All I could do is, you know, whatever you had to do, you had to get to the store to buy more, or, you know, and it's amazing. You get through it. You got to go back and get another one. You know, it's like you've missed something if you don't get more and more and more. You got to. It's addicting.
Those sites, they're so easy. You know, they want you to pay money for all these full length, you know, these 20, 30 minute videos with all this stuff going on. But just to get off, you don't need it. They got preview videos that anyone can look at. You pull them up 15, 30 seconds, sometimes a minute in length. They're just as explicit and have all the juicy details of the full-length videos. And you can watch them. You don't have to pay money for them. You don't have to go out and show your face in a store to buy anything. You don't have to. There's no real record and all that, especially if you know how to clean your own computer. You know, there's no record. It's just you and the computer and what you do.
It's hard to deal with, because I've been to the point where I would tell my wife and kids, you know, just stay in the car, I'll be right back, and I've been in there for 30, 40 minutes, leaving them out in the car, you know? I mean, what kind of a father and dad is that? Leave them sitting in the car while you're in there trying to hurry and look for porn, you know? Bring it out in the black bags, hoping that they don't see it and whatnot.
This thing called pornography allows people to go into the fantasy world where they can do things that, if given the opportunity in real life, they wouldn't even dream of doing.
I don't know, it's out of the norm. And we get so bored with daily life, I guess that's out of the norm, and it kind of takes you into a fantasy world that you can kind of go away. I don't know, even pretending maybe you're the one on tape, you know?
Many that are addicted by pornography deal with the shame on a daily basis, and until confronted, never admit to themselves or others the truth of the darkness of this thing called sexual addiction.
My wife has, at times, she has felt very betrayed. She almost felt like it was just this side of like having an affair. That I was looking at those other women having sex rather than her. And it was almost like, to her, it was almost just this side of an extramarital affair. And with that in mind, when I think about that, it helps me back away, because it really put a strain between us, with her feeling like she was being betrayed on that level.
Even for those who have pulled away from this strong addiction, it's a daily struggle.
One of the things that makes it such a strong pull here is that the hormones, the endorphins, the things that are released in the body during that moment are some of the exact same things that are released by drug users, illegal drug users. And that has the pull on it because it feels good. And you want that feeling, because boy, it just separates you from the rest of the world. You know, regardless of the fantasy of whatever you're looking at, just when you're in the midst of that feeling, you're not thinking about any other cares or anything like that. And I know that's what the pull is for drugs. I've never had a problem with drugs, but I do have a problem with this because of that same reason. But how do I deal with it on a daily basis? Because I live in a world where I have to have access to the internet to do my work. With websites and other things that I do, I can't not have access to the internet. So my biggest thing is the door to my office stays open. When I am doing stuff, when I'm working on my computer, that's what I'm trying to do. I am working on my computer. If I'm playing on my computer, I'm playing a game. I'm not one to surf the internet, because surfing the internet will get me in trouble.
I pray and I ask Christ for help every day. Help me get through it and make the feelings less severe, and just try to go to my wife to it now and be open with it. Being open with it with her helps a lot.
It is such a strong pull. It is such a, because it's not like a drug where you're putting something foreign in your body. You're not killing brain cells. You're not damaging your liver. You're not doing any of those things. So there's a sense of, I'm not hurting anything or anybody, but you are. You're hurting your own soul. Every time you're blackening your soul just a little bit more. You're hurting other relationships, whether it be your wife, maybe if you're young still, some trust with your parents. There is damage that's there. And on top of all that, you're supporting, anytime that you pay money for the magazines, pay money for the videos, for rentals, for anything, you're putting money in the pockets of people who are doing this stuff and pulling people in, getting people off the street and blackening their souls even blacker than yours is in watching it. You're supporting that. Even if you're going to the sites freely and not paying any money, the simple fact is that they have counters and they count the number of visitors they have. And those number of visitors go into the sponsors of the sites. And they pay money for that, and so more money gets exchanged just by you visiting a site. And so just by doing that, you're indirectly supporting an industry that often deals in drugs, with runaways, and all sorts of stuff that most of us, if you stopped and thought about what you're really supporting, you would never do it.
Also on the show, we have several women that will be talking to us about the struggle of being married to sexual addicted husbands, how it affects their marriage, how they deal with the shame, and how it tears apart the family unit. We'll listen to several wives and their perspectives on how they have dealt and are dealing with this sexual addiction in their family.
Probably pretty much the same as everybody's was. It was dark and decadent, and everybody in it was drug users, and they were prostitutes, and it was just only bad people and depraved people, and I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it was not your everyday person that would look at pornography. It was people that just led bad lives, and bad people, not good people. Good Christian people or God-fearing people would never, ever, ever look at something like that.
So dark and dirty and nasty. Anybody who would do it must have been forced into it, women. Those who produced it and made it, how sleazy could they be, to actually participate and make money off of something like that.
2.5 years ago, my late husband and I were only married for 3 years. It's about 2.5 years ago. And I don't know why, I never did find out why he needed to tell me that he felt, and in his words, he used addicted. He said, honey, I need, I need to talk to you. And I have this addiction. And I thought, oh my gosh, drugs or something. Never did I ever dream that he was going to tell me that he was addicted to pornography.
We were already married at that point, and I had a really hard time with it at first. I had a really hard time around it. We went round and round about it. Whether to keep it in the house, what if the kids find it. Had an incident once where he left the video in the VCR. Mom came over while we were in the shower and put a movie on for Michael. Yeah.
My immediate reaction to that, knowing myself and knowing I would have said something very, very wrong at that moment, is I got in my car and I drove away for a few hours. And I just had to leave the house because I was angry and hurt and embarrassed, and got more angry and more hurt and more embarrassed. And as a few hours went by, it went to humiliation at that point. I was humiliated that obviously I was not enough of a woman for my husband.
And it was always a big issue for me. I was never really completely comfortable with it. Still not. I think the more you're around anything, the more desensitized you become to it. So now, does it really bother me? Not really, but I think I'm just used to having it around. I still am not the one who really watches it. I kind of stay on my side of it and he stays on his, because you can't force anybody to change. You can't force anybody to do anything. And he's a grown man.
It started out when in his much younger years with some video films or magazines and that. And then, of course, as the internet came along, it became so much easier. I made the fatal mistake of asking him to show me what it was online that he was looking at. And that was a fatal mistake for me, because a 40-something-year-old woman, in my mind, there was no way that I could compete ever with those 20-something-year-old blondes that are in the movies or online or anything else. And that really, really took a dramatic toll on our marriage and on our intimate life as well.
I mean, there were so many things. I couldn't even possibly cover everything that it felt. So for a long time, him watching that, I felt horrible because I was never sure about why. Is it because you feel like you need, to get off? Is it purely for entertainment value? Is it because as a woman I'm not enough? Is it because, and then that's really when we started dealing with all of that in full force. And that's when it got the worst.
In my mind, in my own insecurities we all bring insecurities everywhere. The insecurities that I had within me were magnified 1,000%. And I knew when it was time for us, during our intimate times, in my brain, and whether it's true or not, I don't know, but in my brain, there were other women in our bedroom with us. That his fantasy life, when he was with me, he was not necessarily with me. I thought, and I never did find out, if the fantasies were in his brain when he was with me. Was he with a 20-year-old and not a 40-something-year-old? And a lot of men today think that if I'm chatting with a woman online, or if I am viewing these webcams that are out there now, that they're not cheating on their wives. But in fact, you are. Just because you are not in same physical proximity to this young lady or this doesn't mean the fact that you are giving your intimate thoughts to that woman or to whatever it is, you are in fact, in my opinion, only in my opinion, you are in fact cheating on your relationship, cheating on your marriage, on that covenant marriage that you promised to be true only to her, and he wasn't true only to me. That was, and again, those are my thoughts.
And now, come a long, long way. But then we've settled a lot of those issues, As in a marriage, we're both to the point now where he has those things, but it's a choice, and he knows now what he wants and what's important to him to keep, and that's me and his kids, he doesn't want to be without them. And so we both make sacrifices to make this work, and that's one of them. If it just feeds the flame, then it's not a good thing for him, you know. So as far as his progress, leaps and bounds, huge.
Probably within a few weeks after that, my husband found an accountability partner, another man that understood. So he was accountable to this accountability partner, this gentleman that knew what was going on, and he also became accountable to me. I want to say that we did come through this. Unfortunately, there were no other resources around. There was no place for us to turn. Churches and that don't want to deal with this. You know, you can, and I'm not saying that as, you know, psychologists in the secular world, but there wasn't the world I lived in at that time, and there was no resource available. So we kind of bound together at that point. And when he decided to become accountable to me and accountable to this gentleman partner, it really did turn things around, and he really then began to open up a lot of things.
And just stay away from it. You can't have it around. It's like an alcoholic. You can't go to a bar if you're an alcoholic and trying to recover. Putting temptation in front of your face makes no sense. It doesn't work. You have to get rid of it.
Ask your Lord for guidance on what to say and how to say it, and just listen. And don't ask questions. Don't be judgmental. Try not to get angry, and let him get it all out first. And if you have to walk away for an hour, but come back. Remember that as angry as you are at that very exact moment, that this is the man that you love, that this man is lowering his defenses. He is coming to you to tell you that he has a problem. And he is coming to the one person that he can trust most in his life to not judge him and not hate him, and that will allow him to be as vulnerable as he needs to be. So just sit back and just listen to what he has to say, and try not to judge him.
For the past 2 weeks, I know that we've talked about a very, very serious subject, sexual addictions. Hopefully we have educated, informed, and inspired you, our viewing audience. I would like to thank the other guests who has came and shared their lives with us. Many of them, for the sake of the privacy, you did not see their face. But it was not because of the shame, but simply because many that expose themselves to us with these addictions know that we will judge. So, for the sake of their privacy, we allowed them not to be seen, that they will not be judged, because their lives are much better now. And so, as usual, here on the Too Blessed to Be Stressed TV show, we leave you with the word of wisdom. Today, whatever you tolerate in your life today, you cannot change tomorrow. And it doesn't matter how stressful or how dark it might seem now, where you're at. Remember, you are too blessed to be stressed. And we'll see you next week.